Hello again everybody and welcome back to Fujit's Blitz with me, Fujit. Hello. This video is about more advanced tactics, in particular crossfire. Now you may have heard the term crossfire on occasion, especially if you watch those tournament streams whereby we almost certainly, as commentators, refer to they're in a crossfire. But what actually is crossfire? What does it achieve and why should you try to do it? Now look, in Blitz, one of the most important aspects of the game, in order to have any chance of winning the game, is not the MM. It's not that so-called OP tank you think you're in, and it's not even the so-called OP player as such, but more about that in a minute. It's map control. Whoever controls the map gets to dictate the course of the battle, and as such, they grant themselves and their team an advantage. Now look, in random battles, map control is one of the hardest things to achieve. Mainly because you've got 7 players all doing their own thing, totally forgetting this is actually a team game. But what sets the average player apart from that super duper unicum out there is that the better player has the ability to control the map, and as such, to control the enemy. That is important. Okay, this all sounds totally implausible, I know it does, but believe me, it isn't. And the top players, even subconsciously, achieve map control and thereby dominance. This allows them to farm those big, massive damage games, to turn games around, and to literally run rings around those lesser players. Now, one easy way to obtain map control is to attempt to get the enemy into what's called a crossfire position. Now, a crossfire is where there is incoming fire from 2 or more directions within the same combat area. This denies the enemy of any movement. This is why many of those top players look for those flanking moves, a move whereby they get around the other side of the enemy and is able to direct fire into the same area. This places the enemy in a situation where they have to defend 2 or more fronts, something that is almost impossible to break out of. Now, in order to achieve this tactic, you need to understand and be aware of quite a few things. Firstly, you need to keep your eyes firmly on the minimap, because this is your main source of information. The minimap tells you where the enemy is, where they're likely to be going, and most importantly, where your support is. Next, you need to read the lineups. Oh, how many times? This gives you the chance to anticipate and try to outthink the enemy. Reading the lineups is vital because that will give you a basic understanding of what the enemy's tactics might be. If the enemy has, for example, 3 heavies, 3 TDs and a light tank, then the chances are they will use what we call the heavy route, with the TDs camping at the back and the light just running around trying to get those spots. If you know your maps, you will know what the heavy and the medium routes on these maps actually amount to. Let's consider, for example, Fort Despair, whereby the heavy route is generally via that C cap. The medium route is generally at the top of the map, just above the A cap area, with the TD positions overlooking both A and B caps. Now, in this game that we're going to break down, Oasis Palms, the medium route is via the canyon area, whereas the heavy route is much nearer the town and pushing out towards the A cap. TD spots are at the back of each spawn, with overlook into the desert dunes, where the C cap is found, and the smaller dune area to where the A cap can be found. Now, with this in mind, and after reading the lineup, it was almost certain this team would go towards the desert and, by default, the canyon area, with their heavies heading townside, and that's exactly what happened. So what made me think that? Well, in this game they had 2 mediums, 1 light, 1 TD and 3 heavies. So you can see here we've got the light coming up. The TD is just behind and the 2 mediums are behind them. So there are 4 tanks just in this area, which is the medium route. Now the Borsig has got very, very aggressive. And I can understand why he has, because they were pushing their mediums this way. What you can't see, but you can see it on the minimap, is that their heavies are in the town, aside from 1. Now, the heavies in the town are the Type 68 and the E75. Their other heavy, the Emil 1951, by the way, is coming out towards this area in the canyon. So what do we mean by crossfire? So, they're all in that corner. I am now going to come out of my position and flank around through the desert and do a crossfire. This is going to put 2 directions of fire on this little cluster of tanks all in this corner. That's basically going to give them nowhere to go. I'm going to focus the Pantera because he is a dangerous tank, and we've got them contained. And this is what we term a crossfire. Now, I'm just going to show you an overhead of what this actually all means. So from this overhead position, you can see exactly what I mean by a crossfire. It is a 4 versus 4 scenario. They have got 4 tanks. There's the T-92, there's the Emil, there's the Pantera, and there's the Borsig. We have also got 4 tanks. The 4th tank is just at the very top of the map. You can't really see him. We have got, therefore, the ability to put fire onto this enemy from 3 positions. That is a crossfire. We are able to now control this map. We are able to control this position. And you can see their 3 tanks have nowhere to go. Literally nowhere to go. And that is a perfect crossfire. We can just farm with impunity. Simple as that. And that's the thing about a crossfire. You are literally pinning them down. You can see here we have the turtle up there. Okay, he's only a 1-shot. But they have now got 2 areas to defend. They can't defend both. They're trying to. The poor old T-92 is desperately trying to look this way, with the Emil and the Borsig looking the other way. But we were just able to farm them with impunity and take them out of the game. That is map control. Denying the enemy movement. Denying the enemy their options. And this is what the better players do. Now, I'm not saying I'm one of the better players. I'm just explaining to you what this tactic actually is. And you can see there at the end of the day, we end up doing over 3k damage and we have a good time. And that is the thing you need to look for, guys. You need to look for these positions on how you can get them into a crossfire to put pressure on the enemy in order for you to control the map. Because with map control, believe me, you have an advantage. Anyway, I've been Fujit, and that has been my overlook of a more advanced tactic, this time crossfire, and by default map control. I hope that video was interesting and useful. By all means, comment and everything below, because I'd love to hear what you have to say. And until the next time, guys, just remember, try and do your best out there. Stay safe, have fun on the battlefield, and happy tanking. Because at the end of the day, that really is what it's all about. Having fun and being happy.